Welcome in. Welcome in. We are on to week two, thankfully, because week one was absolutely cheeks. But we are on to week two. Answer all of your start sick questions. Sorry for a little bit of delay. Been a little under the weather. Was trying to record a video before I went live, and it took a little longer because I kept trying to cough. So I will try to battle that and make sure I pause or hit mute so nobody has to listen to that. But I was not going to miss this. Not going to answer everybody's questions. We already have quite a few of them in there, so let's just go ahead and get to it. And right out the gate, got a big one here from Michael. Good evening, PPR. Start two wide receivers, two running backs, one flex: Jefferson, Evans, Debo, Chase Brown, or Chuba, Connor, Javante, Arizona, or Green Bay defense. Also, any tips on IDP players that have ever played IDP? Uh, IDP, I wish I had Cody here because he's the IDP guy. I don't play IDP, so I wouldn't be able to help you there, but I can answer the other question. So, wide receivers, we're going to start Jefferson. We're going to start Evans. At running back, we're going to start Chase Brown, and we're going to start James Conner. I have both of those players inside my top 10 right now. Conner has a tremendous matchup against the Panthers, and Chase Brown, top 5 running back this week as well. And then as far as your flex is concerned, I would probably I like Javante quite a bit this week. I think I would go with Javante over Debo. I think what you're seeing right now with he out targeted McLaurin last week, but I think a lot of that's just because they're working him back in. And I just slightly lean towards Javante in this matchup against Arizona. I have to absolutely love the usage here for Javante Williams and what we saw from him last week. He played 71% of the snaps, or excuse me, 79% of the snaps and 79% of the rush tips, 71% of the route participation as well. Also got 5 of the 6 touches inside the red zone too. So really solid matchup and a great spot here against the Giants. And then as far as running backs, I'm actually at a similar spot in my home league, deciding between Arizona and Green Bay. I went ahead and went with the Green Bay, and here's why. I feel like that Green Bay won Thursday night matchup, but this defense is really good, and they were really good last year. I talked about it on the defense video we did this week. That they were a top 3 fantasy defense last year, and they just got better with adding Micah Parsons. They shut down what was the league's best top scoring offense last year, made them useless. Basically, scored 13 points, and so I like them. And then even after this week, there's multiple good matchups coming for the Green Bay Packers. So if it's close, I would just lean towards Green Bay because it's somebody that you can plug in over the next couple of weeks. Walito, Harold Fannin or Mark Andrews. So I know Harold Fannin had a really good run out last week, but that was against the Bengals defense. They're playing the Ravens this week. I don't think we're going to see the same type of upside here for the Browns offense. I think Harold Fannin is a great long-term ad. I think Harold Fannin can be used in certain spots. I think they're kind of using him as like a wide receiver. He did out target, but David Njoku did get more snaps than he did. So either way, I would go Mark Andrews here. I know Mark Andrews was great last week, but I still like Mark Andrews. I actually have him as a top 8 tight end this week. Let me drop this down so you can see it. But yeah, I really, really like. I still have Mark Andrews as a top 7 tight end, and I have Harold Fannin at 17. So like I said, long term, and I do think there's a shot here. I think it's more than a chance. I think it's more than a 50% chance that they trade David Njoku at some point this year. So I think Harold Fannin is a great long term ad, but not somebody that I'm relying on right out of the gate. Yeah, appreciate the super chat, Walito. Yeah, Kevin out here hustling by himself for the team. Keep it up, my man. Yeah, we're trying. It's been tough. I've been sick, and I was actually planning on recording a video, the defense video that I put out on Monday evening, and then I fell asleep, and I woke up at 3 a.m. and had to make a business decision. And I was like, all right, I guess if I'm going to get this video done, I'm going to record it at 3 a.m. And so yeah, that was fun. And then yesterday, so it's been fun, but here to answer all your guys' questions. So one way or the other. So if I have to mute it, that's why. Because I'm about to start coughing. So next up, Walito. Again, appreciate the super chat. Need 3 out of these guys: DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith, Jalen Warren, and Javante Williams. Well, one, we have to monitor the situation for Dallas Goedert if he's going to be able to play this week, because if he doesn't, we already know that Devontae Smith is the direct benefactor of Dallas Goedert ever being out, and it makes him a great play. For me in this match, between the options you have here, I can't trust Jalen Warren right now. One, don't really like the matchup. Two, I did not expect Kenneth Gainwell out here out snapping everybody. Did not see that coming. Nobody was really great in that game, but so I don't trust Jalen Warren. But for me, of these three guys, I would go. I would still go DK Metcalf. I would go Devonta Smith, and then I would go Javonte Williams. Like I've already said, I love Javonte's role. Game script is definitely going to be there for him. If he's going to sit here and command all the and be basically a workhorse back, he's going to be a top 24 running back every week. So I don't mind Keenan Allen, don't mind Jerry Judy, but don't love the matchup for Jerry Judy with the Ravens coming to town. What we saw, I mean, there's a big difference between playing the Bills and against that Ravens defense versus the Browns. So I think the Ravens defense is going to crush. So those will be the three that I would go with there. What's going on, guys? How's it going? Should I start Ferguson over Ingram this week? No. And I'll be honest. I think you can drop Evan Ingram. And I know people are going to be like, what? Why would you drop Evan Ingram? Because Evan Ingram is just a volume monster. That's what he was in Jacksonville. Like, that's all he was. He was living off volume. He's not going to see that volume in Denver at all. And so, like, I just don't think there's enough upside there for him. So, like, if you had to drop him, like, I'm not saying you just drop him for no matter what, but like, I just don't think he's somebody you need to have on your roster. Like, I'm starting Jake Ferguson over Evan Ingram all day. And so, for me, I think it's pretty simple. It's Jake Ferguson here. And like I said, I think he's kind of a drop candidate. Like, if you have to, like, if there's another spot, depending on what your waiver wire looks like right now, if there's some players sitting out there that shouldn't be, I would drop Evan Ingram. Or if a Harold Fan is sitting out there, I'd rather have him as my tight end too. Even Juwan Johnson, I think right now. I mean, Juwan Johnson. I mean, shout out Walito, Mr. Saints guy. We've kind of seen flash from Juwan Johnson at times, but I mean, he clearly looks like the safety valve right now for Spencer Rattler in that offense. So, I have Juwan Johnson as a borderline top 12 tight end this week. So, yeah, I would easily start Jake Ferguson here. And then Rams defense over the Vikings, Dallas Cowboys defense over the Texans. I think the Dallas defense is interesting because they get this matchup against the Giants. It's not one that necessarily scares them much. And I was actually surprised how good the Cowboys defense actually looked last week with losing Micah Parsons. We'll see if that continues. But I would play the Rams defense, though, over the Vikings for sure. I have right now, I mean, where I have them. So I have the Rams at 4. I have the Vikings at 5. It's a little bit closer for me. But the Rams, it's just a great spot. If you look at the Titans last week, they really, really struggled. Um, that offensive line was not nearly as good as I think it will be as the season goes by. They made a lot of changes. This offensive line, it tends to take offensive lines a lot longer to gel. And they gave up a ton of sacks. And the Rams tend to get a lot of pressure. They're one of the more aggressive defenses in the league. And so I would play the Rams over the Vikings. And then I would still play the Texans over the Cowboys here on that one. And last, I have Mike Evans as my wide receiver 1. Debo as my wide receiver 2. Should I put as my wide receiver 3? Kupp, Tillman, Bourne, Mooney, or Palmer? Man, I think I would go with Darnell Mooney if he plays. I know he was back in practice again. He practiced limited fashion last week as well. Can't forget that Darnell Mooney last year was a top 36 wide receiver before he got hurt last year, and he was going neck for neck with receiving yards with Drake London last year in this offense. It's very consolidated here for the Falcons, and so I would go Darnell Mooney. I love Darnell Mooney. He was somebody that I talked about a lot. This offseason, talked about him last season, off season. I had some people just really get that excited about Darnell Mooney. But of the options you have here, I would go with Darnell Mooney. Tillman, I think, is a great long-term ad or long-term play, but just don't love the matchup against the Ravens. Like I said, I just don't really want to play a lot of people against the Ravens. I don't see them doing that much against them. I know Kendrick Bourne, but they just brought him in off the street. He missed. He didn't get any camp or preseason or anything like that in. I think it's going to take him some time. But man, and we could be looking at Mac Jones at quarterback there for the 49ers. It did not take long for this whole thing to fall apart here for the 49ers. But situation to monitor. And then Josh Palmer, The Bills going up against the Jets. I don't think the Jets are gonna. I don't see the Jets pushing them. I don't see the Jets being what they were last week against the Steelers. So it would be Darnell Mooney here for me for my wide receiver. 808. What's going on? 808. What's up, TFA? Hope for another great season. Need two quarterbacks, two running backs, Goff, Dak, or Penix. And then Cook, Jacobs, Aaron Jones, or J.K. Dobbins. Thanks. So the quarterbacks for me are going to be Dak for sure. Have Dak as a top 10 quarterback this week. I thought Dak looked phenomenal last week. I know the production wasn't there because he lost the touchdowns to Javante, but I think just and honestly, CeeDee Lamb really sold, let him down big time there in that game. Had four huge drops. One of them could have been a touchdown, but I thought Dak looked great overall. I know that from fantasy wise, it didn't stand out, but I really like Dak. And then as far as the other quarterback concerned, I think I would go with Michael Penix here. I thought Penix looked really good. Like, I was really surprised. Even once Drake London went out, they didn't have Darnell Mooney. Like, they were still out there moving the ball. And I thought Penix played really well. And he was able to run the ball. I have my concerns with this Lions offense right now. Hopefully it's not, season long, but maybe Ben Johnson is that guy. And some of the stuff we saw last week with the lack of targets for Amon-Ra St. Brown and for Jameson Williams was highly concerning for me. I don't know what they were doing there. I mean, targeted the running backs 14 times. So it was really surprised me. I know Jared Goff tends to struggle on the road, especially in outdoor environments, but I would go Dak and Penix here. And then at the running backs, I would go Josh Jacobs and James Cook at the running back position would be the spots that I would go with there. Appreciate the question, 808. And yes, everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe. I never say that, but yes, if you could, really helps us out. Really appreciate all the support. Brennan, need to. Jinty, Kamara, Debo, or ETN. Jinty's a lock. I talked about it on the running back video. I know it wasn't as good of a game that we were hoping for from him, but we saw all the production, all the usage, that we wanted to see. Handled basically all the touches in that backfield. And so I would definitely go, obviously, Genty. Kamara, I am super concerned with Alvin Kamara right now. I kind of talked about it before. I talked about it last week that just Kellen Moore just has never historically targeted running backs, and Alvin Kamara only saw two. Like, that is a major red flag and a major concern because that's really where most of his production comes from, is from his pass catching upside. And if he's not going to have that, he's much more of just like a low end RB2. So for me here, I'm going to go with Travis Etienne. And I have as a borderline top 15 running back this week. It's another good matchup. And just it's super encouraging to see how much usage he had. I mean, 23 touches for him last week. And then obviously now that Tank Bigsby's been traded, loved Travis Etienne. And this isn't the first time that we've done this with Travis Etienne. I mean, when Tank Bigsby was first drafted, he was going to take his job. Like, every year, somebody's going to take his job. And he just withstands and keeps it moving. So yeah, Travis Etienne for me. Goddard, Andrews, or Pitts this week. I'm gonna hate myself for this, but it's gonna be Kyle Pitts. I was super encouraged how they utilized him last week. He did look much better. Looks like he's more recovered from the injury he suffered a couple years ago. I guess we can't kid. Just when you thought I was out, they pulled me back in, and so I would go with Kyle Pitts here at tight end. Let's see if we regret it. Olave, Pickens, Mason, Sutton, or Dobbins at flex. Give me Cortland Sutton here in this spot, in this matchup here against the Colts. Pretty easy one for me. I do like Pickens quite a bit, but I have Pickens as a wide receiver 3, a high end wide receiver 3. I think I'm at like 25, and then I have actually I can tell you. Wide receiver 3s. Yeah, George Pickens at wide receiver 25. And then I have Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver 2. Yeah, at wide receiver 17. So yeah, pretty easily give me Cortland Sutton here. And then next up, Harold. Happy to see Harold back in here. What's going on, Harold? James Conner or Javante Williams? Standard league. It's going to be James Conner. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. Last year, the Carolina Panthers were an absolute turnstile for any running back, and we targeted them all year because they allowed 5 more PPR points per game than the next closest defense did, and nothing looks like it changed. I mean, Travis Etienne went absolutely off against the Panthers defense. They also suffered injuries. They lost their starting defensive tackle as well. So, like, yes, give me James Conner. There is some concern with Conner because his usage went down from what we were expecting. We were kind of all planning on this to be another, he was just going to be the workhorse again, like he was last year. And then he only played, 60% of the touches to 40% for Trey Benson. That was a little bit surprising, but he's still going to handle the majority of the touches, and he got heavily involved with the passing game as well. So easily James Conner here for me. Fields or Caleb Williams? I'm assuming that's Caleb. And give me Justin Fields here again. Don't necessarily love the matchup, but I will say the Bills' run defense still looks terrible. They were terrible last year. They were top 5 last year for the Bills, and they allowed the 5th most PPR points last year. And then we saw them, Derrick Henry go out and just go nuclear against them. So, Justin Fields obviously going to run the ball. Give me Justin Fields. 808 wife won her league last year. Who wants to know? It wants to know. First of all, congrats on winning the league last year. Got to get that back to back. And wants to know 1 running back, 2 flex: Pacheco, Swift, Etienne, Algier, Charbonnet, Keon Coleman, Chig. So the 1 running back for me is going to be Travis Etienne. Already talked about him. Really love this spot here. Love the usage that he's going to see. So give me Travis Etienne. And then 2 flex. Okay, give me DeAndre Swift and give me Keon motherfucking Coleman. I mean, he looked really good, and it was super encouraging how they utilized him, in this game against the Ravens. I like Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman is going to be a big hit this year. And so Keon Coleman, Swift, and ETN for me here for the wife. Let's keep it going. Back-to-back championships. Crab Gravy. What's going on here, Crab Gravy? Happy to see you back. Hey guys, been a while. Hope all is well. Full PPR pick 3 for my Dynasty team. Bakaki, JSN, Agbuka, Mike Evans, Marvin Harrison. Man, I would not want to be you every week to try to decide between these. Honestly. So for me, I think it's going to be Bakaki, JSN, and give me Marvin Harrison. Like, I was super encouraged with what Marvin Harrison did last week and how well he played in the connection. And there was a talk from Kyler Murray and the Cardinals that they spent a lot of time in the offseason working on things. And they actually didn't just utilize him as a go route wide receiver. That was encouraging as well. I will say this. I think Mike Evans probably has a higher ceiling. And it does worry me with game script wise. Like, do they have to throw the ball as much? Stuff like that. Going against the Panthers, with especially how bad the Panthers looked last week. But same time, they played the Saints last week. And so I wouldn't hate it if you want to go Mike Evans. It's just a little concerning because Agbuka, taking the opportunity away. But man, I would not want to be you to have to pick between these wide receivers every week. But I think that's the way I would play it. Bakaki, JSN, you're shooting for ceiling, go Mike Evans. I think a little safer, which is crazy to say, could be a Marvin Harrison Jr. So yeah, that is a hell of a wide receiver room. Get well soon. Yeah, appreciate it. Hopefully this is over soon because it's a bitch trying to record videos, do all this stuff, whatever. You're constantly trying to stop yourself from coughing. Over on Twitch, Inconspicuous Panda. Am I crazy for wanting to start Bill over Kenneth Walker? Green Bay defense looks solid, but Charbonnet seems to be taking the helm. I don't know if that's what's going on. Talked about the same situation running back video. I don't know if it's the question needs to be answered. If is this because of Kenneth Walker missing so much time like he did? He missed pretty much all of training camp. You practiced very little after that. Is this them working him in slowly and trying to ramp him up versus because basically what happened was they alternated series is really what happened in this game. It just it happened on the series that that Zach Charbonnet got to play in is the ones that they were actually able to sustain drives. On Kenneth Walker's, it was much more 3-and-outs. And so neither one of them, I know everyone's going to say, well, he scored the touchdown with Zach Charbonnet, but it still wasn't necessarily a great efficiency day whatsoever. I mean, I think Charbonnet averaged like 3.3 yards per carry too. Obviously better than what the 2.0 yards per carry that Kenneth Walker did. But I will agree with you that I am okay with sitting Kenneth Walker. I just don't know if I could do it for JCM right now. Basically, because it still was a very limited workload that he saw in that game. He wasn't like he looks like he's probably the early down back, and this was a game that they were controlling. Austin Eckler is still 100% the pass catching back here, but I don't think it's crazy. But like, it's certainly a risk. But I wouldn't blame anybody whatsoever if they wanted to sit Kenneth Walker here. I totally get it. He looked terrible. But I will say that I think the entire offense looked pretty bad outside of JSN, to be honest with you. So if you want to do it, sometimes you just gotta drop your nuts on the table and just do it. If that's what your gut's telling you to do, I don't hate it. But again, it's not a great matchup against the Packers. The Packers defense is really good. And so if he were to get game scripted out, that would be my concern. If they were to fall down early and have to abandon the run a little bit, it's gonna really hurt him. Where Kenneth Walker, though, the positive for him, even though it doesn't look like it, he was actually the pass catching running back there still with the Seahawks. Charbonnet didn't even see a target in that game. So J2 Dice got Marion Hampton at flex. Should I wash him out for Cortland Sutton or Hollywood Brown? I think you could for Hollywood Brown, but here's the thing, and I know it wasn't a good spot here for Amari Hampton, right? And it was clear that the Chargers, from the very beginning, they said, we're going to be super aggressive. We're going to throw the ball. Everybody expects us to run the ball. We're going to throw the ball against the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to have that same approach against the Raiders. I don't. But the positive was that Hampton still handled 80% of the backfield snaps, 89% of the running back carries, and ran 53% of the routes. All of those were top 7 among all running backs last week. That's elite usage. And it's easy to forget, but the Chiefs' defense last year was top 5 against running backs last year. The Raiders are certainly not that. And so I would still stick with Amari Hampton here in this spot against the Raiders. So I would play Amari Hampton. Usage is absolutely elite. He's going to have much better spots than what he did last week. I know the production wasn't necessarily there, but the usage is what we're looking for. Harry, should I trade Nico for Devontae Adams and ETN? I would not. Like, it's super risky, right? Like, I know, and it was super frustrating last week with Nico Collins. I know. I am a Nico Collins owner myself. And it was a super frustrating game. The offensive line looks absolutely dreadful. They lost their center. Like, nothing looks great there. But I still think Nico Collins is going to be fine moving forward. He still has potential to be a top 5 wide receiver. Devontae Adams, I don't mind. But, man, that back injury for Matt Stafford really worries me. And Travis Etienne, like we talked about, like Travis Etienne could easily be that dude. But at the same time, like if he goes back to being a little bit more and you're not playing the Panthers and he goes back to being what he was last year, like I know they love Bashal Tootin in that building. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point that Bashal Tootin starts to earn more and more role. And could he take this job from Etienne at some point this year? And it's possible, right? Where maybe Etienne goes back to a Rachaad White role. I would just hate to give up on a top 5 wide receiver. I feel like you're selling a little bit low here for Nico Collins. So for me, I would hold Nico if it was me. Hey, a couple questions for you. I have first priority on waivers this week, tomorrow. And I'm wondering if I should target Harold Fannin or Juwan Johnson. Ferguson's my starting tight end. Should I start Cedric Tillman or Stephon Diggs my flex this week? So I would not want to use my first waiver. Like if you have the number 1 overall waiver priority, and assuming it's rolling waivers, I would not want to use it on a tight end. Okay, like I get it that Jake Ferguson, but I think Jake Ferguson is going to be fine on week to week. Like I said, I have as a top 12 tight end this week. And like I said, as much as I like Harold Fannin, I wouldn't want to use the number 1 waiver at because there's going to be a time where Like there was no running backs to speak of this week, like none. Like Dylan Sampson, I guess, was about it, but he was still rostered like almost 50% of leagues. So like he wasn't even like a low owned guy. There's going to come a time that shows. The only thing I don't like about rolling waivers because it forces you to hold on to it. And so like I'm much more of a fab guy. Like I finally got my leagues to change to fab, and I love it. But I wouldn't want to waste the number one waiver priority for a tight end, and one you're going to be playing matchups with. So I wouldn't do it. I would just wait. I wouldn't be shocked if Juwan Johnson's still sitting out there, and nobody puts in a waiver claim for him. As far as who I'm starting in the flex, I think I would go. I think I would go. I think I would go Diggs here. So the reason being is the matchup, right? That the secondary for the Dolphins looks like the Raiders secondary is really bad, but the Dolphins is even worse. And so like I would go with Diggs. I just like the matchup more for him compared to Tillman. Um, I think he gets a little bit more involved again this week. So I would go Stephon Diggs here at the flex. Shade, should I drop Tank Bigsby for Spears on hold? Yes, yeah, I think you definitely can. Bigsby now basically becomes useless because I mean Saquon's going to command all the touchdowns. If Saquon got hurt, then yeah, sure. But I still think he would only be he would only be a a first second down guy. Like he's not a pass catching running back, so that's going to hurt him. I think you'd probably see someone like Will Shipley. It would be more of a committee role there. And Tajay Spears, I think, is a great stash if you have enough IR spots to do it once he comes back. Because it was a shame that he got hurt because he was somebody that I was definitely excited about drafting. It felt like he could be like a Chase Brown type situation with him this year, especially how he finished last year. He was phenomenal. So, yes, I am perfectly okay with stashing Tank Bigsby or Tank Bigsby. Tajay Spears on your bench. Yeah, if Rattler keeps slinging 40 times a week, then yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see if that actually is the case. The dough starting Myers over Sutton this week. No, I would go Cortland Sutton here. Jacoby Myers though is a top 36 wide receiver for me, but I would still go with Cortland Sutton here. Quincy, Shannon Daniels. Why did I draw a blank on that? Kraft start. Tucker Kraft start two running backs, two wide receivers, two flex. CMC, Chase Brown, Achan, Travion Henderson, Harvey, Garrett Wilson, Sutton, Terry Pearsall, and Quick Diggs. Goodness. Quincy. Every time. This team's so good. Two running backs going to be Chase and CMC. Two wide receivers. We're going to go with man. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. I'm going to say this: if Juwan Jennings misses this week, I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall and Garrett Wilson. If not, I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson and Cortland Sutton at the two wide receivers, and then the two flexes. Achan for sure. I can't sit him. I know this team looks like a mess, but I'm going to go with him, and then I will go with Egbuka as well, who I'll go with. And then I would still sit Pearson. It's just, man, if Mac Jones is the quarterback, and I know Mac Jones was able to still sustain stuff last year with um, with Brian Thomas Jr., but sustaining multiple pass catchers and everything else, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. And so it does make me nervous. Egbuka looked phenomenal last week, and I was high on him. I was higher than a lot of people were on Egbuka, and he looks so good. So I think that's the way that I would play it. I gotta start moving. Oh crap! Thanks. I appreciate the super chat there. Yes, I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate everybody rocking with us and answering or dropping all your questions in here. Couldn't do this without you guys. Where are we at? Okay, yeah. Oh, we got that one. Starting AJ Brown this week. Yeah, we are. I still think he's a borderline wide receiver one. I know it was absolutely brutal out there for AJ Brown last week. It didn't get a target until the very end of the game, but in a different matchup here, obviously against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, yes, they can be possibly looks like they're going to be missing Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs are still going to definitely push them, and the Chiefs secondary has a lot of questions. I mean, we saw the Chargers absolutely light them up, and so the Chiefs are a better run defense. And if you kind of go back, even remembering the Super Bowl, the Chiefs did a pretty good job of really containing Saquon Barkley in that game. I think he only had like 60 rushing yards or something like that. And so for me, I would I think AJ Brown bounces back this week. I don't think we're going to continue to see that same type of usage. So aloha, Kanoa. My running backs are Chase Brown, Hampton, Harvey, Tracy, Tootin, Giddens. Should I burn my first waiver priority on Bigsby dropping Lovely? No. Kind of already talked about it. I'm definitely not doing that with taking Bigsby. Eventually, I mean, unless Saquon Barkley gets hurt in the next 2 weeks, if somebody picks him up, cool, they'll end up dropping him because he's not going to do absolutely anything. And that's not the type of players that I want on my bench. So I would definitely not use number one waiver priority. And you're pretty solid at running back, to be honest. I mean, Chase Brown, love that. Hampton, love that. Harvey eventually is going to take this job from J.K. Dobbins. He's harder to trust right now to be able to start, but he's going to take this job from Tracy. Great usage, obviously less to be desired, but that entire offense looks terrible. I can't wait for Jackson Dart to take over at quarterback. It sounds like it's going to be sooner rather than later, especially with this coaching staff coaching for their jobs. But Jackson Dart looked phenomenal in camp. And so I think it's only a matter of time until we see Jackson Dart as a starting quarterback. Will, how about them? How about them Tigers? How about them Missouri Tigers? A little nervous there at the beginning of the game, but they came through and pulled through. So MIZ there. DeAndre Swift, Dave Montgomery, Charbonnet, PPR. I'm going to go with the first two here. Uh, I want to see a little bit more from Charbonnet, to be honest with you. I want to see a little bit more how if this continues to move forward. Back at home for Detroit, I think they bounce back there in this offense with the Lions. The Lions have been incredibly good at home. If they struggle again, then it's time to have real concern with the Lions in this offense that it's not going to be the same that it was last week. So I would stick with Swift and Montgomery here. And then Trevor Lawrence or Herbert. This is Justin Herbert. I have Justin Herbert as a top 6 quarterback, I believe. Yeah, top 6. I should probably change those colors. It's a little bit harder to see. But yeah, Justin Herbert, top 6 quarterback for me this week for him. And I have Trevor Lawrence, a little bit more as a QB2. There was some definitely concern there with Trevor Lawrence. He definitely missed. I think Brian Thomas Jr., he had like a 44% catchable target rate, which was almost worse in the league among all wide receivers. And then it was kind of eye-opening that Liam Cohen kind of called out Trevor Lawrence in a way after the game, kind of pointing out all the spots that they missed Brian Thomas Jr., that he should have had a reception. But I still think it's not a bad matchup here. Obviously, against the Bengals. Bengals defense is terrible. And I do expect this game is going to score a lot of points here. And so Trevor Lawrence kind of a borderline top 12 quarterback. But Justin Herbert, and let's hope that he continues to throw the ball at a high rate. Because last year, like the first 8 weeks of the season, it was dreadful. Let's not forget, though, that he was dealing with a lot of injuries to start the year last year. And then once he kind of got healthy is when they started to throw the ball a lot more. So we'll see how that plays out. And then where are we at? Oh, Canoa, keep 2 and start 1 this week. Jones, Flacco, or Ward. I would drop Flacco if I had to. Or not gonna say you just say drop start. Keep 2. So yeah, I'm keeping Cam Ward and I'm keeping Daniel Jones. I think this week's not necessarily obviously a great matchup. They're playing the Broncos, but on other weeks, I think he proved himself. I thought he looked good, and they have the weapons here. So I would probably hold Daniel Jones and then Cam Ward. I know the box score is not going to tell that story, but if you watch that game, I thought he looked really good at times in that game. Obviously, when you're facing the Broncos, it's going to be tough, and so especially as a rookie, going on the road to Mile High. But I think as the year progresses for Cam Ward, um, I think he could end up being a guy just out of the gate as his rookie season. And then also with Joe Flacco, I don't expect Joe Flacco to be the starting quarterback all year. Eventually, they're going to shift and they're going to put Dylan Gabriel in there, or maybe even Shador Sanders. We'll see. But I definitely think Joe Flacco is not going to be the starting quarterback unless they go and start winning games that would surprise me. And I don't see that happening. I think they're wanting just to get an idea of who these other quarterbacks are, and then I think they take a high pick and they draft a quarterback. 46 pass attempts for Morales, 2 targets for Carrera. That can't happen. I know, but that's how his that's how Kellen Moore's system has always been, and that was the concern for me with Kellen Moore was definitely that, and so that's what I would be concerned about moving forward. It was a concern start the year, and it's still a concern for me now. Nick got offered Dak and Tyreek for Sutton, Purdy, and Ayuk. 12-team PPR league. We keep 4 every year, 5 flex positions, 1 and IDP each week. I don't think I'm doing that, man. Because I don't know this Dolphins team. It looks like a train wreck. Yes, they can turn it around, but I don't know. It also feels like that Mike McDaniel's has lost this locker room, and it just feels like everything's about to implode. There's a scenario where Tyreek gets traded at some point this year. Maybe that boosts his value. I think I would hold Sutton, Purdy, and Ayuk. Honestly, that's so tough. But I just don't love the situation with Tyreek. I love Dak, I do, but I also think Brock Purdy. This is a very short term thing with him, and I still think that this offense is still going to be very really solid. So I can't do it. I already have CD Gibbs, Chase, AJ Brown, Tet, ETN, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, Waddle, Jordan Mason. My goodness. Well, man. Let me put it this way: if you want to shoot and think that Tyreek Hill isn't cooked and he's still that guy still in there, and it was just a one bad week for the Dolphins, the ceiling play would be like that's what it would be. Like if you can get Tyreek and Tyreek turns out to be that guy again, then you hit a home run. Because I also think Dak is going to be a top 10 quarterback this year for sure. So I don't hate it, especially with the players you already have. You have CD Gibbs, Chase, AJ Brown. I mean, you're loaded. I mean, Ted. I mean, you have a lot here, and so like I don't necessarily hate it, but you're taking on a lot of risk. But again, at the same time, you could say that Ayuk maybe he's not the same guy this year at all, and he just doesn't get back to being that guy. And if he doesn't, then we have serious problems. Because then after that, then you're just kind of holding him for a roster spot, and then from there it's Sutton versus Tyreek. At this point right now, if you're asking me today, I would lean Sutton, but if Tyreek can get back to being that deal, or if he gets traded, that would also significantly boost his value. And then Dak, I would take Dak over Purdy. So yeah, I think if you want to do it, I don't hate it. It's just there's a lot of risk there. Drop one. Tesla, Thornton, Malik Washington, Tyreek Cuff, 14 team. If I have to drop something, I'm dropping Malik Washington between these two. I still think there's a lot of upside here for Thornton. Didn't necessarily have like a huge game or anything like that, but I definitely think Thornton could. We're still wanting him to develop. And Tesla, the Lions came out this week and said that they want to get him more involved. He didn't play very much. He did score a touchdown in that game, but I think that they just said that they want to get him more involved. So if I had to cut somebody, it's going to be Malik Washington. Payne my man Flacco has elite pass game, and the Browns played Fannin 12 tight end. Yes, I mean they play a ton of 12 tight end or 12 personnel as well. So he gets plays receiver. Browns an experienced tight end is safest route. Tillman is performer. And I like Fannin, I do, but it's just. But how long is Flacco going to be the quarterback? Like that's the thing that I want that I'm really curious about because Flacco is like Jameis Winston, right? Where he's a gunslinger. He's going to elevate a lot of players on your team. And that's why that we wanted Flacco to be the quarterback because of what we saw him do with Cedric Tillman, with Njoku, with and Jerry Judy. But there's also a lot of players here, and they're also not going to be facing one of the worst defenses in the league in the Bengals. And so like those are things that would only concern me there. But like I said, Fannin as a long term play, I think it could end up being a top 10 tight end this year. Like he's that good. Like coming out of college, like he was somebody that a lot of people liked as like the number 3 tight end. There was arguments at times maybe he's the number 2 tight end. Argument there with him and Colson Loveland. So I like Fannin a lot. He's going to be on the field, like I said when I talked about it, but it's just that situation. Give me Jacoby Myers over Pickens all day. Why? Like I like Jacoby Myers, and I've been a Jacoby Myers stan for as long as it can be. Back when he was with the Patriots, I was a Jacoby Myers guy. I like Jacoby Myers a lot, but I also think George Pickens is absolutely going to crush. And and I'm not going to sit here and worry because of just the 1 week of what happened last week. They were playing the Eagles, which is still one of the best defenses in the league. Yes, they lost Jalen Carter, but I like George Pickens a ton this year. I think George Pickens is going to crush. I think he's going to be a top 20 wide receiver this year. And I'm not going to overly be concerned about that. So, Nino, do I plug in Pollard in over ETN, Egbuka, DJ Moore versus Detroit? That's tough because Pollard is obviously the workhorse in this backfield, at least for now. I'm not playing him though over ETN. I'm not playing him over Egbuka. I guess the only question you can have is with DJ Moore, I guess, because Caleb Williams still is struggling with accuracy issues. But I think I would against the Rams. I think I would just lean into the volume there with Pollard, and I think I would play him over DJ Moore. Or keep 3 guys in, keep on my bench. No, I think if I did, I would play I I would go Pollard over DJ Moore. Yeah, JSN, Mr. 60% target share. Yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. But that's kind of what we thought was going to happen. That's why that he was like a top 12 wide receiver, that he was just significantly better, and that maybe Cooper Cup is washed. And if that's the case, like he is going to just see a massive amount of targets here, and that's what he did. And so who should I start? My flex spot: George Pickens, Isaiah Pacheco, Dylan Sampson, Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown. Assuming that Xavier Worthy's out, I would go with Hollywood Brown. Saw him last week. He got 16 targets. I mean, is he going to see 16 targets this week? No. But assuming Xavier Worthy's out, which I don't think they'll play Xavier Worthy this week, even with the extended time off, I don't think Worthy will play this week. Though Andy Reid did say that he is not going on IR, so it does sound like a short term thing. He could try to come out here. We always know Wednesday practice does not matter. I never care about Wednesday practice. Thursday and then Friday are the 2 biggest days of the week to monitor. And if Xavier Worthy doesn't practice tomorrow or he doesn't practice Friday, he's out. He's not. Then we know he'll be out. And then I would just play Hollywood Brown. If Xavier Worthy were to play, though, then I would go. I would flip and I would go to George Pickens there. But right now, I would start Hollywood Brown because if Xavier Worthy's out, I think Hollywood Brown's a top 20 wide receiver. Also, one more lineup, please, to flex Hollywood, Pickens, Sampson, K9, full PPR. I'm going to go with the first 2 here, Hollywood and Pickens. Like we've kind of talked about Kenneth Walker. I just can't with Kenneth Walker, to be honest with you. Right now, if you don't have to play him, you have better options here with Hollywood and Pickens. I would go with both. Kyle, I want to trade Pickens for AJ Brown. How do I make that happen? You'd have to add more to it. I mean, it'd be different if Pickens was coming off like a game where he went 5 for 100 and a score. It'd be a lot easier because there's definitely people that are concerned about AJ Brown. But since Pickens is coming off a game where he didn't really have a great game either, his value is not going to be nearly as high. You would have to add something else into it. So the question would be, what does the rest of your team look like that you'd want to plug in there? Anyway, which two should I flex? McConkey, Debo, Diggs, Olave, Pittman. Hope you feel better quick. Yeah, I do too. I got a lot going on right now. I can't be sick. So I don't know where this came from. But yeah, just fight through it. So which you should I flex? Gonna be McConkey. And then I'm gonna go with Debo here on this one. Pittman was a nice surprise. I always felt like this offseason, everybody's been pushing the Josh Downs, which I like Josh Downs, but Josh Downs comes off the field, when they're not playing 3 wide receiver sets. And then Tyler Warren has become such a focal point, which love Tyler Warren. Penn State great Tyler Warren. But Pittman, which always just continues to get kind of pushed aside, and he was definitely the lowest drafted of all of them, and came out and had a huge game. Now, I don't expect that this week because he's going to be seeing Patrick Surtain, and I want no part of that. Yeah, for me, it's going to be McConkey and Debo here. Would you start Travion Henderson or Javante? This is going to be Javante for me. Travion Henderson, I think better days are coming for him, but the lack of involvement early on is a little bit concerning, especially in the past. I think eventually at some point this year, I don't know how they continue to because Ramondre Stevenson is so bad. So I think at some point this flips, but right now I'm going to go with Javante. Like I know the quantity of Javante. I know Javante is going to be handling 70% of the opportunities. He's going to be involved in the passing game. He's the red zone or he's the goal line back as well. So I'm just going to plug in Javante. Generation X. Happy to see you back. More Coleman or Judy for wide receiver 2, Pollard, Mason, or any of the above for flex. Do we think Bowers will be good to go by Monday, or should I shift to pick up a tight end? Cardinals, Rams. See, you know what I would do, honestly, at this point? Because I don't think there's a huge difference between it if I had to with that situation, though I do think Brock Bowers is going to play. Um, I would just wait, and if it sounds like he's not going to play, because I don't want to sit Brock Bowers. So Brock Bowers is an absolute monster. I would just pick up Michael Mayer if I had to. Like throw him in my RR if he gets rolled out, then just pick up Michael Mayer. Because Michael Mayer obviously last week, he was still involved, and then if he's out, like he's going to be that dude. He's going to be their starting tight end. And so I would just pick up Michael Mayer in the event that happens. And so I would do that. But as far as for wide receiver 2, I would go with DJ Moore, and then in the flex, I would go with I'll go with Tony Pollard in the flex. It's just really hard to sit somebody who's going to handle the type of workload that he's seeing right now, and it's not going away anytime soon. And so I would still stick with Tony Pollard there. And then as far as the defenses are concerned, I would go with the Rams. I like the Cardinals against the Panthers, but I don't think they're like a must play or anything by that over these two. And then the Vikings are just after the Rams for me. I have the Rams, I think, at DST 4, and I have the Vikings at 5. Jimbo, Fish. Oh man, Pacheco, Jordan Mason, or Charbonnet. This one, I think I would actually. That's where I would go with Charbonnet. Um, really hate this matchup for Pacheco. Really frustrating the way that that they utilized him last week. Didn't even handle over 50% of the touches. Kareem Hunt still involved, and just a brutal matchup. Which is what we thought for Javante last week. But then Jalen Carter did what he did, and then it kind of opened everything up for him to be able to score a couple touchdowns. But I would go with Charbonnet here. Terry McLaurin or ETN, or Terry McLaurin for ETN. I would not be trading Terry McLaurin for Travis Etienne. Thoughts on Tyree going back to Casey? I don't think it happens. Honestly, this feels like the thing that this has been kind of talked about, even with Tyreek for the last couple of years, and I don't think it's going to happen. First of all, his contract. I don't see how the Chiefs bring that on, and this isn't just a what. I know they can kind of eat or get rid of a lot of this. but he still has like $15 million dead cap, I think, next year or something like that. So unless he wants to rework his contract, maybe it happens. But I mean, Rashee Rice is going to be back by week 7. It sounds like Xavier Worthy is going to be able to make it back sooner rather than later. And so I don't think this happens. I think there's a better shot if he gets traded going to somewhere else. Start 2, Samson, Charbonnet, Tracy. I'm going to go with Tyrone Tracy and Dylan Sampson here. Or no, I'm going to go with Charbonnet. I'll go with Charbonnet. Just, I don't think he's going to see the type of, he's definitely the pass catching running back, and we'll have to see if Quinshon Judkins plays this week. But I think his role is secure as the pass catching running back, but I just don't know. I'm not going to expect he's going to see the type of target share that he saw last week and the amount of work that he saw there. So I would go with Charbonnet and Tracy on that one. Hi, Kyler Herbert is going to be Herbert for me. Herbert top 6 quarterback for me. Also, was this a good trade? Ekbuka for Tyler Ward. Hope it doesn't get vetoed. Got Hawk Curly. I don't know why that would get vetoed at all. Like, I mean, Tyler Warren is a dog, and then Ekbuka was phenomenal. I'm assuming you traded Ekbuka for Tyler Warren with the way you said this, or did you trade Tyler Warren for Ekbuka? Just let me know on that, but either way, I don't think it's unfair either way. If you're needing a tight end and you don't love Hawkinson, if that's what you were doing, I'm assuming because you have Hawkinson, you're saying you traded Tyler Warren for Ekbuka, and Ekbuka, phenomenal too. So either way, I don't think that's a bad trade. I don't know why that would be vetoed. Pick 3 for my wife's dynasty: Neighbors, AJ Brown, McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, Coleman. Love just a house of that plays fantasy football, especially dynasty. That's awesome. So Neighbors, AJ Brown are locks, and then I would go with Cortland Sutton here. Ketchup, Sutton, and Bill for Omari and Hampton. Full PPR. Yes. I'm doing that. I know people are concerned with Omari and Hampton. I don't think there's any reason to be. The usage was, like I said, phenomenal. That's what I really, especially early in the year, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see how these guys' usage could have changed a little bit, sure, but Najee Harris is not just going to all of a sudden start taking a ton of touches away from Omari and Hampton. And if you've listened to Jim Harbaugh this offseason, like you would think like it's his like long lost son. Like he absolutely loves Omari and Hampton. He has been gushing about Omari and Hampton since they've drafted him. I don't think he's going anywhere. And so if you need a running back, I'm okay with doing this. Would I try to get something a little bit more thrown in for it? Maybe like a bench, like wide receiver or something like that? Yeah, I would. But if I had to take this straight up and I needed the running back help, I would do it. Now, if you don't, then maybe you just hold on to Cortland Sutton and JCM. Aldo, standard league, pick one: Tracy, Chubb, or Mason. I'll say, like I said, this offensive line for the Texans absolutely scares the shit out of me. And now they've lost more players on this offensive line. It's already bad. I'll go with Tyrone Tracy, who didn't look great, but I will say this: I think he had like the second or third most yards after contact per attempt last year, or something like that. Or not last year, last week, and it's just the offense looked terrible, and so for somebody that's still, like I said, he played like 70% of the snaps, ran most of the routes. Like I'll go with Tracy here and hope that he can find a touchdown, especially with being a standard league. Emilio need a RB2 and a flex: Travion, Javante, Swift, Trey Benson, Mooney, Shaheed, Strange, or Quentin Johnson. So RB2, I'm going to go with Javante. And then at the flex, man, I'll go with DeAndre Swift. Yeah, Javante and DeAndre Swift here. Tillman or Butte? I'll go with Tillman here, but I really am intrigued by Kayshon Boutte. Like, I think people forget that he was like once thought of as a first round pick wide receiver before he suffered that injury. And going back to last year, 3 of his last 4 games he's played, he has scored 15 or more PPR points. Like, so I like Booty, and he clearly is the guy, the favorite target for Drake May, which matters. And this is not a bad matchup whatsoever because the Dolphins secondary is terrible. But I still think I would go with Cedric Tillman on this one. I think there's a little bit of volatility when it comes to Kayshawn, the way they utilize him right now. Start Hurts or Fields this week. This is going to be for Hurts for me. I was super encouraged with what Justin Fields did last week for sure. I thought he looked really good. Obviously, I have him as a top 8 quarterback for me, but I still going to go Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't see how the Chiefs really slow him down. To be honest with you, and I think there's a real scenario the Chiefs go 0-2 this week. Emilio, in a standard league, need a running back too, and a flex, Travion. Oh, wait, did we already answer? Yeah, we already got that. Sorry. Mace to the face. Fields or Kyler? This is going to be Josh or Justin Fields for me. Josh Fields. For those with Tyreek Hill, full PPR, how long do we hold him? He's at flex. On my bench, Diggs Reed. I mean, you got to hold on to him longer than a week, right? Like the Dolphins' offense isn't going to be that bad for that long. And the thing you hope for, which I think is going to happen at some point, because he's going to force his way out of there, he's going to get traded. Now, if he gets traded to the Steelers, obviously not as enticing. If he gets traded to a different offense that could easily insert him and kind of unlock him again, then I think that he's a great ad. But I'm not just releasing or dropping Tyreek Hill because he will be picked up. He will not make it off waivers. Like, somebody's going to add him. If this continues for weeks and weeks and weeks, then yeah, maybe we get a little bit more. But I don't think he's going to be this bad all year. And I'm going to start too. Coleman, Pickens, Johnson, and PPR. I'm going to go with Keon Coleman and George Pickens here. Cincinnati, Arizona, or New England defense. Give me Arizona against the Panthers. Should I trade Pittman and Monty for Ridley and ETN? Yes. I'm going to take that gamble that ETN can hold on to this job all year. And then Ridley, absolutely love Ridley moving forward. It wasn't great last week, but they were also playing the best defense in the league, and he was seeing Pat Surtain. So I would make that move. Start, sit, and flex, full PPR. I'm going to sit. Feels dangerous to sit Terry McLaurin. Maybe you sit Ted McMillan. Oh man, that's I still have Ted as wide receiver 20. So I have Ted at wide receiver 24, and I have Terry at 23. So yes, I think I would sit Ted McMillan, but I do not love it at all. But I think Terry is going to continue to see more targets. I don't feel like they really had to utilize it that much playing the Giants last week, not coming off an injury, but somebody that didn't get a lot of work into the preseason. They were kind of ramping him up. I think he's going to be much more involved in this game against the Packers. So I'll go Sutton to McLaurin. Need 2 Neighbors, Shakir, Mooney, Golden, Butte, Judy. It's going to be Neighbors for me. And then if Darnell Mooney plays, I'm going to go Darnell Mooney. If Darnell Mooney doesn't play, I would go with Jerry Judy. Yeah, I feel you there. Week 1 was absolutely brutal. It was outside of the Sunday night game. The Sunday night game was phenomenal. Like, that was one of the best games I have watched in a long time. I think it's up there. And I don't know if you guys agree, but I think it's up there with like the Chiefs and Bills playoff game, where the 13-second game and all that stuff happened. Like, just pure cinema for that game, especially the end. So I thought that game was phenomenal. Like, that carried the entire weekend. for me of the NFL. Like it was a very very good game. And Sunday afternoon was really bad. I think it was like 60% of the games went under the total. So yeah. Will DeAndre Swift or Montgomery in PPR? It's gonna be Swift for me. Full PPR: Harvey, Downs, Alakeo Maynor, Pacheco, or Benson. Hate the matchup for Josh Downs. I don't know if you can trust a running back that saw 6 touches last week, though he does look like the by far the more explosive running back. Yeah, between RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbs, I think I go Pacheco. I don't love it, but he's going to see the most of the work. I also think Alakeo Maynor, if he's sitting out there on anybody's waiver wire, I would definitely want to take a shot on him and have him on my bench. The 7 targets he saw last week, I think it was super encouraging. And like I said, I think this offense just gets better and better. He's kind of the number 2 wide receiver there for the Titans. I really like Alakeo Manor, but I'm not starting him this week. Jose, what can I offer for JSN? I have Neighbors, Ekbuka, Tet, Pearsall, Gibbs, Bucky, Achan, Brees, Tyler Warren, Kittle. He has McBride. Well, I mean, Tyler Warren, phenomenal spot. What can I offer for JSN? I mean, you can try to buy. It's tough because I mean, because you to make realistically, I think you'd have to probably give up. Like it'd be like Ekbuka or Tet. Tet or Ekbuka would be the easier one, just because obviously you had the bigger week. But I really don't want to sell either one of those. I think you could also, but I think you'd have to put somebody else into it. Like I think you'd have to probably put like Pearsall into it as well. Maybe I'm overvaluing. Maybe you could just offer if you wanted to Ekbuka. Because the thing with Ekbuka is like I love him. Like he was definitely somebody that I talked about like this offseason about like he's going to be that dude. And with all the injuries and everything else, but eventually Chris Godwin is going to come back. And then how do things change within the offense? Does it become too crowded? Um, and so like getting JSN, like that's nobody's coming to take JSN's job. And so the question really is just can Sam Darnold continue to support him? And so like maybe you could just offer Egbuka straight up and see if they would take it. I doubt it, but that's why I said they're probably going to want somebody else. But there's nobody else that I really want to add to it because like I don't want to trade Egbuka and Ted McMillan for JSN. I don't want to trade Egbuka and Pearsall for JSN. Like I guess if I had to like gun to my head, like what decision I'm making, if I had to, it would be Egbuka and Pearsall. But I don't really want to do that. So maybe just offer Egbuka for JSN and see what they do. But this is a really stacked team, though. To be honest with you, especially having Tyler Ward on your bench, which Kittle now going to IR, like good for you. Start Travis Hunter or Odunze. I'm gonna go with Odunze here. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Travis Hunter because they said they're gonna play him more on defense this week. I'm just curious if that takes away some of the opportunity for him. Fannin and Joku played. I mean, they're both tight ends. It's just they were utilizing them as a as like a move tight end. He still played less. Like Fannin still ran less routes than Njoku did, though. And again, I was saying, the hardest part with him is simply they were playing the Bengals, right? And so like the Bengals secondary is terrible. And so like it gets tougher matchups. Like, how is all this going to shake out? How many of these players can they truly support? You're talking not just, Njoku and Fannin. I mean, Njoku's not losing his job while he's here, but they're paying Njoku a ton of money. Like that's not happening. And so then you still have Cedric Tillman, you have Jerry Judy. Like how many guys can they truly support on a week to week basis? That's going to be the question. I love Fanning. I think eventually at some point over the next 4 or 5 weeks, I do think they trade David and Joker. I think they love Fannin, and I think they end up trading David and Joker. And then that's when the sky's the limit. Should I trade Hampton and McCarthy for Brees Hall and Justin Fields? Yeah. Oh man. Actually, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would want two Jets. Like, I don't know if I would want Brees Hall and Justin Fields at the same time. Like, I love Justin Fields, but like, I don't know if I'd want him and Brees Hall. Like, I don't know if I wouldn't want my mental aptitude to be weighing on the Jets every single week and how well I play. I don't think I would. I don't think I would do it. I don't think I could do it. And I was very encouraged with Brees Hall, very encouraged with Justin Fields, but I don't think I could do that. Trade away CFC with Purdy hurt or hold. Yeah, we're holding CFC for sure. I mean, the workload is just absolutely insane with him. Just do a prayer circle every week that he stays healthy. And I don't think Purdy is this is not a long term thing with Purdy either. I'm in a 2 QB league. I have Dak and Jaden going up against Mahomes and May. Am I good? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be close. I mean, obviously, if we're just talking about those two going up against each other, because Drake May gets the Dolphins, and like we've said, the Dolphins' defense, especially their secondary, is atrocious. But yeah, I mean, these are four top 12 quarterbacks for me, but I like Dak and Jaden more than Mahomes and May this week. Is Herbert a plug and play every week, or should I still stream 4 point per passing touchdown? Is like, are they going to continue to throw the ball this way, or was this a 1 week thing because of who they were playing? Because they were playing the Chiefs and they were trying to be super aggressive and not just run the ball. That's the only question. But I will say, I also think Herbert's going to continue to throw the ball a lot, or not throw the ball, run the ball a lot. And that was something that we've kind of wanting to unlock, because he certainly has the upside to do it. And so if he can start getting 30, in that 30 to 50 range a game, you know, give or take, then yeah, he's going to be in a really good spot. So I want to hold Herbert for now and see if this continues. And if it does, then he's going to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback this year. I definitely think it's in that range of outcome. If Worthy plays, do you start him over Odunze or Hunter? I would probably not want to risk something happening. I would want to see how he's used and what this looks like, because I'm assuming he's going to have a brace on. And generally speaking, it limits mobility for wide receivers whenever they wear the brace, that whenever this stuff happens. So I would want to see how he's utilized and what they utilize. So I think I would hold off on utilizing him this week, especially against the Eagles. Gabriel London, Agbuka as my wide receiver 1 and 2, Tech Wheelan, James Williams, or Terry McLaurin at flex. Very close for me. I have Terry McLaurin at wide receiver 23. I have Ted at 24. I would probably lean towards Terry McLaurin with a bounce back spot. Who should I start in my flex this week? Odunze, Olave, Devonta Smith. I would go Devonta Smith here. Match up against the Chiefs. And it does sound like possibly Dallas Goedert doesn't play, which would be huge for Devonta Smith. Nakua trade for Jacobs? No. I mean, unless you're just absolutely desperate for a running back, no. I want Puka Nakua. You like Rams or Pats defense more this week? Rams. I have the Rams as a top 5 defense this week. I think I have it 4. I do like the Patriots this spot to continue to just embarrass the Dolphins, but I have the Rams. Excuse me, I have the Rams at 4. So I would go with the Rams. I think that's the best spot here. This is a great week to stream defenses too, by the way. I just want to say that. Like, when I was looking at this, like, most all these defenses are rostered outside of the Broncos. I think the Ravens, the Vikings are most a lot of these defenses are rostered less than 50% of leagues. I know the Rams were, the 49ers were, the Patriots are, the Packers were. Packers, I was blown away. I would have thought once they traded for Micah Parsons that everybody would have run out and added the Packers defense, especially they were a top 3 scoring defense last year. And no, they're still, as of today, they were rostered or before today, they were rostered like 30% of leagues. But yeah, great week to stream defenses. I gotta start moving through some of these. Where are we at? messes it up. Gotta start moving through some of these. Sorry. I try to give more detailed, nuanced answers than just simply saying names, but then I get really hard. So, Fabian, should I trade McLaurin for Montgomery or Dobbins? No. Don't. Let's. We can all look back and remember last year. Just try to go back and remember last year. Remember Terry McLaurin to start last year, and he really struggled. And everybody was freaking out. And everybody got rid of him and traded him, and then he just went absolutely nuclear over the. I should say nuclear, but he went off the rest of the season. And everybody regretted getting rid of him. We're holding McLaurin. Like he missed a majority of camp and the preseason. He didn't show up until like the last week. Like I'm going to win. I'm not going to move Terry McLaurin for one of these two running. Was thinking I should get Christian Kirk off of waivers. Probably will drop Boone. Yeah, Kirk. I would rather have than Kendrick Bourne. Chubb or Pacheco. I, I'll go with Pacheco. I don't love it, to be honest. If you wanted to go Nick Chubb, you could, but man, the offensive line for the Texans is so bad. It really worries the hell out of me that like I just don't love it. So the Steelers have the second highest odds for Tyreek. If that happened, do you think his value would be lower? I think it would be lower. I mean, unless they just let Aaron Rodgers air it out every game, but that would be so against everything that they want to do. I don't think that would be the spot that I would want like him to go to. I think there's better places he could go to than Pittsburgh. But I mean, I guess they should have just made this huge trade because they've traded for so many other players for the Dolphins this offseason. So. Which two should I start? Evans, DK, Hill, or Flowers? I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers, and I'm gonna go with Mike Evans. I have both of them as top 20 wide receivers this week. Is Daniel Jones worth keeping a half point PPR? I have Dak. No, I don't think you need to hold on to him. Is, I wish there was a way. I saw this. Can't even see the list. I know. I wish there was a way that I guess I could. I guess I could. I'll need to change this graphic to where I can make it for the stream to where you guys can actually see all this while I have it up because it's kind of pointless if you guys can't read everything. Laker Nation, Drake May or T Law rest of season. I have Purdy. It's gonna be Drake May. Drake May, somebody that I love this year. Didn't have the best start to the season against the Raiders, but I think I think he's going to run the ball a lot more than what he has. I think this offense just gets better as they go. Obviously, it's a new scheme, new system, and so. But I would prefer Drake May to Trevor Lawrence. Who you have finishing higher rest of season, Kyron or Hampton? I would. I think I would. I think Omari and Hampton has a higher ceiling than what does Kyron Williams does. Kyron Williams though is the secure, safe floor play though. Like he's gonna get the volume. He's gonna continue to see volume. If Matt Stafford can stay healthy, this offense should still be really good. So I think that's kind of the way that I would kind of look at it. Like if the ceiling play is Omari and Hampton, and I think Kyron is probably the safer floor play. But if I had to rank it, I would have Hampton ahead of Kyron, like for the entire rest of season. I don't know, maybe that's hot, but Kanoa, Ferguson or Ertz half point PPR. Give me Jake Ferguson, War Eagle, Stroud or Nix. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Bo Nix. Sorry if I missed it, but Jacobs for Nakua, also Chase for Henry, non PPR. Non PPR, I will trade Chase for Henry like easily. Um, and then Jacobs for Nakua. Ooh. I guess again because it's non PPR. Like I mean, touchdowns matter so much more. I think just like then it matters more to me like who I think could score the most touchdowns. I think it's probably Jacobs has the higher ceiling there to score more touchdowns. But like if you want to trade Jacobs for Nakua, yeah. But I have no problem trading Jamar Chase in the standard league for Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry is just insane. Kicker question. Love it. And actually need to fit in my kicker video. I haven't done it yet this week, but feast your eyes on the kicker rankings. I know that's why everybody came here for. Surprised I haven't had one yet. So where are we at here? So yeah, here's the kicker rankings for the week. So yeah. Who was that? Ryland, Prater, and Carlson. So yeah, I have Ryland, then Prater, and then Carlson pretty easily, significantly more. So yeah, really like Chad Ryland. I've liked him. You know, he was somebody that I talked about as a I don't want to say a sleeper, but definitely a must draft kicker that was going super late. Was really good late last year. Once he came in, to actually took the job from Matt Prater. Obviously, you know Prater's a short term look, but for this week, I would go with Chad Ryland here slightly over Matt Prater. And then old lady needs your help again. Baker or Fields? I'm gonna go with Fields. It's so tough to sit Justin Fields. It doesn't even really matter the matchup because the his ability to be able to score touchdowns on the ground and yardage picked up on the ground is so significant it makes it really hard to ever sit him. So, I mean, he's been basically a top 10 quarterback every time he started. Not every game, but like throughout those seasons, he's been a top 10 scoring quarterback every single week or every single year. Sorry. And then Sutton or Garrett Wilson at the flex. For me, it's going to be it's going to be Garrett Wilson for me in this one, but it's really close. I think I have both of them like back to back. Mega, QB, Hurts, Jacobs, Kamara, Walker, Swift, Charbonnet, Javante Williams, Jalen Warren. Wide receivers, Chase, BTJ, Jacoby, Shakir, Kincaid. Defense is Pittsburgh. Kicker is Jake Bates. Should I look for a trade in a 10 team? Solid at quarterback. Running backs, obviously some concern, but the fact though you have Charbonnet, Javante who comes through, Jalen Warren. Wide receivers, Chase, Shakir. I don't mean probably at running back is your most like one that scares the hell out of me because of with Walker and and what's going on there. But I still think that at some point like we're gonna get to turn around. Kamara, like if I was gonna trade anybody, it's probably Alvin Kamara. He still holds the name. His week last week wasn't terrible, but it really, really concerns me that this pass catching work is not going to come like we think. So if you running back is the area that I would look to address, and it's not a bad week to do it considering how many players really didn't perform very well last week. So if I was looking to make an upgrade, it would definitely be to your running back. Buffalo defense every week or straight. Yeah, I do not like holding a defense all year. I really just don't. I talked about it in the defense video. I think I said this that last week, the top 12 scoring defenses, only three of them were rostered more than 50% of leagues. Like outside of the Broncos, which is like your consistent, like you feel pretty solid about every week starting them, and I would just throw them in there. But Buffalo is definitely not a defense that you have to just hold on all year and just play them no matter what. Like I'm not doing that. And so I would definitely just stream the position every week. It's much easier to do. And you're good. I would be willing to bet easily that it's over the long haul of the season that you're going to be way better off than just holding one defense of any defense not named the Broncos. Dak or Penix, it's going to be Dak, and then Goddard or Fannin. Thanks for this. Yeah, I would go Fannin here, and then I would go with Dak. Need a wide receiver three between Ibuka, Mooney, Shaheed, or Quentin Johnson. A standard league, I would go with Ibuka. NFL's investigating Tyreek Hill domestic violence. Thought he missed his time for it. Not this year. If it comes back to be anything, it definitely won't happen this year. It would be something over the offseason. It definitely wouldn't happen. But it could also be a reason why no team trades for him either. That like, no, we don't want any part of this. We've been there, especially someone like the Chiefs. But anybody else may just be out on that if unless they have some other information. No problem. Start Prescott or Fields this week. This is gonna be Justin Fields for me. Brother, why are you so high on Fields? I promise he's dog shit. Only a matter of time. We have to separate what a player is in like real NFL football versus fantasy football. Okay, there's a big difference. Justin Fields in fantasy football has been an absolute dog. Like he's been phenomenal as a fantasy quarterback. Is he a great real time? Like, do I want him as my starting quarterback for an NFL team? Probably not. But for fantasy football, all I care about. Nobody's taking his job. There's not a rookie behind him that is waiting, and the incumbent quarterback that's coming. As long as he stays healthy, he is going to hold his job all year. And because of his rushing upside, which is what we care about in this game, he is going to be a consistent top 10 quarterback every single week. Oh, we already answered that one. Devontae Adams or Terry McLaurin. This one's going to be Devontae Adams for me. Dylan Sampson or Austin Eckler. Give me Eckler. I just don't. I don't know if he produces the same way he did last week, with the target volume that he saw. My other weakness is that tight end. I have Njoku, no backup tight end on the waivers. Fannin, Henry, Ertz, Andrews, Johnny Smith. Should I wait out Tyreek? I would wait out the Tyreek situation for now. It's only 1 week. I would pick up Mark Andrews if it was me. I don't know why Mark Andrews is even sitting out there to begin with. So if I was going to pick up a backup tight end, it would be Mark Andrews. Connor and Devonta Smith for JSN. Which side? Is this PPR full PPR? I guess because like full PPR, I think it really depends on your situation, but I think I would rather have the JSN side. Which side do you like in this trade? Chase Brown or Addison or Garrett Wilson and Egbuka? The Chase Brown side. I would take the Chase Brown side. Also, I want to trade for JSN. Do you think Tyler Warren, one of DK, Devontae Adams gets it done? I owe Bowers and Kittle. Do you think Tyler Warren, one of DK? I mean, it very well could if he's desperate for a tight end. Trading Tyler Warren and one of DK or Devontae. Yeah, I mean, it very well might. I mean, especially needing a tight end. Tyler Warren's phenomenal. Definitely able to stick in. So yeah, I think if I had to pick between which one of those wide receivers I'm looking to trade, it would be DK Metcalf. Are you worried about Garrett Wilson? I mean, the thing is that we already knew that like he was going to be a target hog. I mean, he had 9 targets last week, 7 catches, 95 yards, and touchdowns because there's nobody else there to throw the ball to outside of Breece Hall. I mean, he had a 36% target per route run rate, which was 7th highest, and his 42.9% target share is absolutely ridiculous. So while I think there's going to be inconsistent weeks and inconsistent play at times because you're dealing with Justin Fields at quarterback, to all say I thought Justin Fields actually looked pretty good. And the dude had a 50% first read target share, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not worried at all about Garrett Wilson at this point. Boo, Drake, Caleb, or Daniel Jones. Hope you took the first W this week. It was a little rough. Because I know people don't care about our fantasy leagues, but I'll just say this: that so this is a keeper league, and I know that's been going for 12 years, and we don't have like limits on how long you can keep people for, and so I can keep people forever, and I do a really good job at drafting, and then you're able to. It's basically, this long story short, you can keep four for free, doesn't cost you anything, and then you can keep a fifth and a sixth for $25 a piece that goes in the pool. I always keep six, so my my team was, and then I was able to kind of work a trade. I'm not going to go, so I'm not wasting everybody's time. That I'm not here to hear about my fantasy team, but so I have Dak at quarterback, and then my running backs for Chase Brown, Ashton Jitsi. I was able to make a trade to get the first to get somebody's first round pick because my team was so loaded. So I have Ashton Jitsi, Chase Brown, and then my wide receivers are AJ Brown, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. My tight end is Trey McBride. And I had on my then I had Tyro Tracy because you have two flexes, Tyro Tracy and Kenneth Walker. On paper, you'd have said, "Man, that team is phenomenal. I bet you that team scores a ton of points." It did not. It scored 97 points, which was by far, which was the lowest in the league. So, goes to show you, it doesn't matter how good your team is; they can absolutely destroy you for a week. So, hoping for a bounce back spot. Anyways, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones. Give me Drake May. Michael, Hollywood Brown, or T Higgins. This is gonna be T Higgins for me. In this matchup against the Jaguars. So I'll say, I mean, every year, like the last 3 years, the Bengals have really struggled week one, and it's happened again this year. I think Burrow, the last 3 years in a row, has not scored more than 9 fantasy points in a game in week one. So much better days are ahead for T. Higgins. So David, Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason by flex halfway PPR. Well, I bet if you went to bed thinking that game was over with on Monday Night Football, I mean, Aaron Jones finally was able to come through. But the usage, even though he scored 15.7 PPR points, the 40% opportunity share certainly was concerning for him. But he got there because of the touchdown that he was able to score. I still lean Aaron Jones. Like, I don't think this is something that's going to continue. But I will say Jordan Mason looked like the better running back between the two of them. Uh, It's still early again, only 1 week, but they definitely like him more as the early down banger. Played 59% of the snaps, or 59 handled 59% of the opportunities there for him, but he's not involved at all in the passing game. So I probably would still lean Aaron Jones, but we're starting to get much closer to a point where or if this continues, then it might be over for Aaron Jones. And it might be Jordan Mason, but and maybe this is what we continue to see. But at least, even though it's still halfway PPR, I think I would still lean towards Aaron Jones. Do I trade Mike Evans for Rasheed Rice? It really, really, really would depend on what the rest of your team looks like, and if you can withstand not having somebody basically saying that you're taking a zero for that long of a time period. Because obviously he just sits on your bench because you can't put him on IR. And so, like, it really depends. I will say when Rasheed Rice comes back, he's going to be an absolute just dog. Like, he's like, with the injuries they have, like we already saw it last year, and like he is going to command a massive amount of targets, and he is going to win people leagues. And so it really would depend for me, like if you can withstand it, and if you can make it that far until he comes back. Start Jalen Warren or David Montgomery. I would go David Montgomery here. Just picked up Fanning off waivers. One of my leagues had Chase, didn't even know the stud was on waivers. Oh, just picked up Fairbairn. I don't know why I said Fan. I've been saying him so much. Fairbairn. I don't understand it either when it comes to Fairbairn for me, because like he's a top three kicker last year. He was one of like five kickers as average double digit fantasy points last year, and like he was rostered like just under like 50. Like it was about 50% of leagues. I don't get it. He I think last year kicked like 13 field goals and 50 plus yards. Kicks in a dome. Like there's no reason Fairbairn should even be sitting out there. So Joey Sly will be a top kicker week two. Very well might. Very well might. But Tyler Loop is the other guy I love. I feel like I was much higher than most people on Tyler Loop, but people also don't really want to talk about kickers either. So, how many wide receivers do you have in between Wilson and Sutton? Very little. I think they're pretty close. Yeah, actually, as close as you can get. Actually, uh, Garrett Wilson just ahead of Cortland Sutton. Oh, I always hate when all right. Sutton or Pearsall? It's gonna be Sutton for me. No, I'll say this again. I think I said it earlier. I'm gonna say it again. If Juwan Jennings were to miss, I would flip to Pearsall then because he's going to be the only dude. And even if it's Mac Jones, we have seen Mac Jones just pepper, wide receiver with targets like he did with Brian Thomas. And I think there's a lot to be concerned or a lot to be encouraged by with Pearsall. So if that were to happen, that's when I think I would move Pearsall up even more. Thinking of dropping Ollie Gordon for Trey Benson. Yes. Yes. I would do that. Trey Benson now looks like he has standalone value, super explosive. I mean, James Conner, as much as I like him, he's still 30 years old. And it very well could be that and if something would happen to him, and he is somebody that last year I think was the first time in years that he played 16 games, got hurt right there at the end. But yes, I would rather have Trey Benson. I think the ceiling is much higher for Trey Benson than it is for Ollie. I traded Neighbors and Pollard for Sutton, Marvin, Aaron Jones. See, in any trade, I kind of want to have the best player, and that's obviously Malik Neighbors. Like, it's not a terrible trade, right? Like, I think it's more volume for value, right? But I mean, Sutton, I still think it's going to be a top 20 wide receiver this year. Marvin Harrison, and the where you can hit a home run with this, Marvin Harrison continues to look like Marvin Harrison looked last week. Like if that happens, like obviously, this was a thought of to be a generational wide receiver. And let's say last year was just a little bit of a down year, and he's able to turn it around this year. 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown last week in a game where they really controlled, didn't have to throw the ball as much. Then it could end up being a home run for you. But there's risk there. Pollard or Agbuka this week. This could be Agbuka for me. Like phenomenal. For defense, you prefer Cincinnati, Arizona, New England, or the Chargers this week? Give me Arizona against the Panthers. No trades after week one. That means you draft shitty. I mean, I think I would look at it a little bit differently, right? Like I would look at it like trying to buy low. Like and this week could be the best week ever to try to buy low on players because of how many players just really played poorly. And so like try to go to people and try to buy low. Like yeah, great time to do so. Was offered two trades: Keon Coleman and Hunter for DK Metcalf, and then the other trade: Njoku and Aaron Jones for Shakir and Laporta. I mean, if you could get Keon Coleman and Hunter for DK Metcalf, I'm doing it all day. If it's the other way around, you're getting DK Metcalf. I am absolutely not doing that. And then another trade: Njoku and Aaron Jones for Shakir and Laporta. I would still want the Njoku and Aaron Jones side right now. I think, yeah. Because I just don't think Aaron. I don't actually. I don't think Shakir just has that much of an upside. I think he's just kind of who he is at this point. Start one: Metcalf, Debo, or Dunze. Where do I have them? So, give me DK Metcalf on this one. Michael, half point PPR, Benson, Kenneth Walker, Coleman, or Dunze, Travis Hunter. Who do I start my flex this week? Well, we're not going to do Benson. Normally, you would think it'd be easy to be Kenneth Walker, but I can't do that. Just because of yeah. I'm gonna go with Keon Coleman here, just slightly ahead of Odunze. Yeah, my team put up 140. I lost, so I didn't draft bad, just bad luck. Yeah, it was a very weird. It was very weird week outside of that game. If you had a lot of pieces for that Ravens Bills game, you were so happy. If you're in a lot of these other ones, you were not. I traded myself out of the playoffs last year. I cannot tell you how many times I make a trade. I think that it's a great trade, and then it ends up not, and I end up regretting trading. And like I have gotten to the point where I'm very limited on the trades that I make, and so I tend to agree that like it feels like I don't know, just excuse me, sorry, trying to get over the sickness. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times that I've traded and it just blows up my face, or you make a trade and the very next week that player you trade for gets hurt. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if it's like superstition or something, but I've just gotten to the point where I try to limit the amount of trades. I would much rather go for like lower lying players than try to go for studs. I think those people try to just go trade straight up for studs, which it takes so many players, or it's much harder to do. Where I would much rather try to start going after some players that are much easier to acquire and aren't going to cost you as much that maybe you feel like you're buying low on before they kind of go off. So, Brock, I have Drake London, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, and Juwan Jennings, Deontay Thornton, and Coker on IR. So I would have options if I traded for Rice. What one was that? You got to scroll back up to make sure. That question. Oh, do I trade Mike Evans for She Rice? And then let me go back. So yeah, Drake London, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, and Juwan Jennings, Dante Thornton. So then if you made that move, I mean, if you're in a good spot for the rest of your roster, like yeah, I don't mind doing it. 'Cause like I said, when he comes back, when Rasheed Rice is back week 7, like he is going to be, he's probably going to be scoring 17, 18 fantasy points per game. Like we saw it, like I said last year, nothing's changed, and now you got these injuries that are going on. When he comes back, like he is going to be the dude, and he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver easily. So I don't mind doing it if you want to take the risk. Brad got offered Saquon for Jacobs and Garrett Wilson. I have Amon-Ra, Tyreek, Tat, Jennings as my wide receivers. Start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I mean, on the surface, that looks like a great trade, right? Like, but at the same time, it makes me a little bit leery because of who you would have left. Like Jennings is not any sort of guarantee for anything. And then once Ayuk does come back, like that's going to be the question, like who gets kind of squeezed, and as well as Kittle, who'll be back, in 4 weeks. But Ted, obviously, I love. So they leave you with, Amon Ra. Tyreek is super, makes me nervous as well. Obviously, Saquon's an upgrade over Jacobs. Like it's not even a question. I think I would do it though. Like I'm always about ceiling, and I think you have enough here to be able to get by. So I think I would do it. And then the 2 wide receivers, at least for this week, we're starting Amon and we're starting Tet. And I don't. And the flex, I guess, with not. I guess that means you already have uh Garrett Wilson. Then I would plug Garrett Wilson. If not, if you need it from the other list, I would go with it would be Amon Tyreek, and Tet. Kelsey or Jawan Johnson. It's going to be Kelsey for me here. Just very limited pass catching. We're talking about at this point Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton that are really having to step up. So I would still go with Kelsey here. Aaron Jones, Hollywood, Pearsall, bitch one, Aaron Jones, not bitch Aaron Jones. I'd bitch Jones there, yeah. Uh, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to go 2-5. I just think this team is too good. They have way too many weapons. It's just the Eagles are. obviously a problem, but they're going to start ripping. They will be better than 2-5. I don't see that happening, but I definitely think 0-2 is definitely in the range of outcomes. But you know, Brent Strange or Mark Andrews. I have Kittle, who is out now. I would go with Mark Andrews. I like Britton Strange. I would still go with Mark Andrews though. Appreciate it. Do you think Tyreek Hill goes back to the Chiefs though? I don't. I just don't. I don't think cap wise they can make this work. I think that's the biggest problem. Unless he restructures, does something different. Obviously, the Chiefs are the most, know him the most. I think he's wanted to be back with the Chiefs this entire time. I know he didn't even want to leave the Chiefs. All the reason he did was for money. She can't blame you. Get your bag. But I just don't know. I don't see it happening unless something were to happen significantly to Xavier Worthy. He's just not going to be back this year. I don't know. I just don't see it. Brian, Cowboys defense or Ravens defense? Going to be Ravens defense. Should I trade Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson for Martin Hampton and Sutton? Yes, I would do that. And then Brian, Fannin or Johnson at tight end? I would go with Juwan Johnson. But I think I would go with Juwan Johnson. Start one. Marvin Harrison at Buka, Debo. I have BTJ as wide receiver one. Can we start one of these? We can't start one of them as a flex. um, Give me Marvin Harrison Jr. If you can flex one, I would flex Buka. That's tough. ETN or Jameson Williams, flexible PPR. Give me ETN. May or Knicks rest of season. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we're leaving Brees Hall in the flex. Yeah, I get that one. I'm gonna go with May. I just prefer May a little bit more. I liked May more coming into the season. It's only been 1 week. Both of them didn't necessarily look great week one, but I just think there's a little bit higher rushing upside here for Drake May. And so I think I would go with Drake May, but it is really close between those two. Start Pearsall with no Purdy or Boozy for the page. It's still going to be Pearsall. Like I said, Mac Jones isn't great. He's certainly not a great quarterback at all. But we saw him last year to be able to support Brian Thomas Jr. over that down the stretch where Brian Thomas went off. And right now, there's just nobody else really here to throw the ball to for San Francisco outside of Christian McCaffrey. So I would still go with Ricky Pearsall. Johnny Smith will be a top 10 tight end this week. I mean, trusting anything that Arthur Smith does is tough. I know he loves some Johnny Smith, but it's not really that bold of a statement because it doesn't really take a whole lot for tight ends to be top 10 tight ends. I think the top scoring tight end last week was what, like 14, 15 points or something like that. It certainly wasn't anything crazy. Start Pearsall or AJ Brown. We're gonna go with AJ Brown still. I think AJ Brown bounces back pretty big. Keon Coleman, Aaron Jones, the flex. Leaning towards Keon as a Bills fan. So since you're a Bills fan, I want to ask. I don't know if you were in here earlier when I asked, but I would ask. Which game do you think was better? I know the outcome, but if you just took the outcome out of it, I know the outcome for one is way better than the other. But do you think the Chiefs and the Bills game, whenever the 13-second game where the Chiefs ended up winning in overtime, or last week's game where the Bills won was better? I know, just outcome aside, but I think at least the very least, I think those are over the last like 10 years. Like those two are like the best two games I've watched. but it's really close between those two games. But I was trying to figure out which one was actually better. So non-disclosure, I'm a Chiefs fan, so for me, I still think though that game last night was awesome. But I think those are two of the best games. And I'm going to say this as a Chiefs fan, I was talking to somebody today about this. I think this is the year the Bills go to the Super Bowl. I just feel like it. I feel like that they've been so close for so long, and like I know the Chiefs, and I still love the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are awesome, but I'm also trying to be more of a logical fan and not just a homer who just thinks the Chiefs are going to go to the Super Bowl every year. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that the Bills have been super close so many times, and I just couldn't imagine being a Bills fan having to watch this every single week or every single year. The Chiefs, knock them out of the playoffs and be so close to it because I mean the 13-second game they should have won that, and that should have been them going to the Super Bowl. But I feel like this is the year the Bills kind of get over the hump and Josh Allen gets to the Super Bowl. I don't know. This is my opinion. Nobody cares about that. So, anyways, flex two PPR. Keon Coleman, Travion Henderson. And I don't know if I answered, but it would be Keon Coleman for me in that question. I don't know if I said that or not, but I got thrown off with your Bills fan. Keon Coleman, Travion Henderson, Sampson, Keenan Allen, Dobbins. I already have Ladd and Herbert stack rolling. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go with three. So I would go with Keon Coleman. I think I would go with Keon Coleman and I think I would go with Keon Coleman and Travion Henderson. Fire him up one more time. Definitely 13 seconds, just back and forth, like 4 touchdowns in 2 minutes. Yeah, that game was absolutely ridiculous. Start Hollywood or Debo in the flex. Thanks in advance. If as long as Xavier Worthy is out on Sunday, then I would go with Hollywood Brown. If well, we don't have that. Okay, let me put it this way because we're not really going to have time to truly figure this out. If Xavier Worthy doesn't practice tomorrow, I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown because I know you have to make a decision before Thursday. So if he does practice, I would go with Debo Samuel. Pickens or Javante Williams for the flag. I would go with Javante Williams, mainly just because of the massive workload that he's likely going to get. It's close between the two of them, but I think I would go with Javante there, just based purely off of volume. So I think that is the last question. And so I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I have some other stuff to do. I have to edit a video. Pollard or Pearsall, I'm guessing that's supposed to be. For your flex, I would go with Ricky Pearsall here on that one, though. Full PPR on that one. But anyways, so last question. So go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back again. I think we're supposed to be doing the DFS show tomorrow night with Ryan. So you play DFS. We'll be back for that tomorrow night. And then, we got some videos coming out, stuff like that. And we'll be back again Sunday night for the week 3 waiver ads. And so we'll see if we get a little bit better because I think week 1 might have been the worst waiver run that I can remember for a week 1 in a long time. Start Michael Pittman or who's the second one? Why is that throwing me off? Oh, Jabo. Okay. So like Jameson Williams, I'm assuming. Is that who that is? If it is, then I would go with Jameson Williams. Should I have a Joker or Andrews on my team going forward? I mean, I would rather have Andrews. I would rather have the, player attached to Lamar Jackson. Someone just said I made a trade for Jamar Chase, Swift, Javante for Bucky, St. Brown, Terry McLaurin. My friend did. He has Chase. I would have wanted the Bucky Irving side. I think it's a little bit too loaded. I mean, I get it that maybe Amon-Ra is not quite the same guy he was last year with Ben Johnson gone, and his offense runs through the slot. But you're still getting Bucky Irving, who has that kind of top 5 upside, and then Amon-Ra should still be a top 10 wide receiver this year. And then Terry McLaurin, I think, bounces back. Um, so I would rather have the Bucky, Amon-Ra, and Terry McLaurin side for rest of season. So, anyways, all right. Just keep slowly coming at Jelly of the month. Jawan or Ertz. Not sure it matters, but my quarterback is Daniel PPR. Ertz is so tricky because he just seems like he just catches a touchdown or like he doesn't have like an incredibly high ceiling, but he's like consistent enough to where it makes you want to play him. And then obviously, I mean, Jawan Johnson is was really good last week, but if someone told me that he had 3 catches for 20 yards this week, it wouldn't shock me either. I think if I was hunting for ceiling, I would just go, but though, which is weird to say, whatever. I just said what I said, but I think I would go with Zach Ertz, especially when Jade Daniels get that little double dip, which always feels good when you have a quarterback. So yeah, so flex. I think my friends should be a good spot. Yeah, if we're getting Bucky, yeah, I would do that for sure. So all right. That being said, we're going to get out of here. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the questions. We'll be back again next Wednesday, like we do every single week, answering every single one of your questions. And hopefully next week I'm not sick and I can actually talk a little bit more and I don't sound all congested and stuffed up. So appreciate all the support. We'll be back again. A lot more videos coming this week, a lot more content. What are your lives? So it'll always be every Wednesday. Every Wednesday night we'll go live unless something happens. We do go live on Thursday nights usually for the DFS show, and then on Sunday we go live. Usually, so we have baseball. I coach baseball on we're for fall ball right now, so we're still playing fall baseball. So on Sundays, if we have a tournament, then I won't be able to go live on Sunday morning. But on the weeks that we don't, then after baseball's over with, which I live in Missouri, won't be much longer, then we'll be going live Sunday mornings, and then we go live Sunday night every Sunday night to do the waiver wire show. So, anyways, that being said, we're gonna get out of here. Got some other stuff. Like I said, I got a running back video. Watch tomorrow morning. Must play running backs for week 2. Go ahead and watch that. Check it out. If you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.